So this is Baruch Fleischman, and this is I think this is the 15th shir in the series in the Ria Kodesh on Purim. We discovered the secret of Mordechai. So anybody who's looking to understand who Mordechai was, it was in the shiurim. So in other words, the origin of the soul of Mordechai. So now we're coming to another place, and what we're still looking for is an understanding of who Esther is. Now, Esther is a lashon of something that's hidden. But on the other hand, when you hear the story, that you realize that she's really the Akaris Abayas. This is Malchus that we're talking about. So where do we get the concept of Esther? So I'm going to read, for the sake of time, the Tivuk Avonos, after I read the Rav. So let's read the Rav over here, and we're going to read it down below in the Tivuk Avonos. V'zu inin achila v'shtia. Now we understand that eating and drinking on Purim is really important. K'mavuratz leinu, which is we have explained. Shachamokim shal nekeva nikra yak yak. Now, why it is double lashon? Yak really means chokhmah and bina, so that's understandable. That there are mochim that come into the nukva, and they're yak yak. The na'asiv b'bechinas yak, they're made from the concept of chokhmah and bina. V'him nimshachim bo al yedei v'chila shtiyah. So how in fact does the nukva, who is now represented probably by Esther, how is it that we understand that eating and drinking goes along with it? So this understanding, when you take this word achila, take the words and mix them around, the letters, and mix them around a little bit, and you get to the word ochol yak. That yak, you're eating yak. Then the word shtia is also shas, which is drinking yak. Because we understand that through eating and drinking on Purim, the mochim which are called Yud and K are extended into the Nukva. So how is in fact that what we're doing is we're strengthening, or we're establishing a radiance that's coming from the mochim, and this radiance that we have been talking about previously, which is the Ataras Yesod of Abba, which is shining tremendous light of chesed and kindness and intelligence and consciousness into Malchus. So he says, Mochim al yedecha b'mitzvah sudas Purim. So how do these mochim come in? They come in as we are eating and drinking. So let's talk about the mochim of Rachel. They're different from the mochim of Zer Anpin in two different ways. The first one is the Lazah yesh shlosha mochim. Zah has three mochim. That is Chochmah Bina Das. V'lanok yesh rak shnei mochim. Only Chochmah and Bina. Chochmah ubina. Number two, the second thing, Shachamochim Shal Hazah Chem Shemel Sabaya Shlemim. There are complete names of Yud K, Vav K. Mochi, and he says the mochi that come for the Nuk, Choloshim Mechem, they're weaker than them. Let me see if I can get this lined up a little bit better. Of Haim Rak Chetzoi Shemel Sabaya, they're only a half of the name. Remember this phrase that we have a lot, the noshim daitum kalos, that women have light minds. But what it actually means is a much deeper thought about how things work in developing malchus. The hainu yak, that is, it's only half of the yud ke vav ke, it's the first two letters. So these two mochi, the chachma and the bina that come into the nuk, Heim Shnei Shemos Yak Yak. That's what comes into her, and you see them on the ends of the word Achila and Shtia. V'nimshachim la ayidera b'chila v'shtia. And they come into the Nukva. How, in fact, does this great light come into her? Through Achila v'shtia. U'maromas b'tevas Achila v'shtia. And there's a reference there, should be called Echad Yesh Shem Yak, because each one of them has a Yud and a K, representing Chochmah and Bina. Achila, which we said before that the Rav wrote that, Achol Yak, and Shtia is Shas Yak. Umavur Lukamana, we're going to explain this later on as we go on. Shebachilo, that when we eat, nimshachim la mochin the chachma uveshtia mochin the bina. So that when you're eating, you're bringing mochin the chachma, and when you're drinking, you're bringing mochin the bina. Okay, this is what he wants to say, like that. Let's go on to number nun hey. He's a gam near mazel, so it's also referenced. He ba'atzvacha b'midas achila, the word achila itself. Shehi b'gematria adni. Now, just take a second. Adni, I know without seeing it, is gematria 65. So he says, but the mina achila is what? We saw this yesterday. It's 21 plus 10 is 31 plus 30 is 61, and 5 is 66. So he says the word achila itself really refers to the concept of adni imakoil. So another adni is 65 plus the root of adni makes it 66. The Ramaz ki elah mochim shal yakin. This is to teach us what? That these mochin of chochma and bina hanimshachim al yedei b'achila that come into the nukva through drinking and eating, heim b'nekeva hanikras adni. They are found in the female aspect, which is called adni. Od remez yesha inyan achila shal sudas purim ki lahamshech mochin l'nok daikas. So we understand that the purpose of eating. Now he's only talking about eating, not drinking. The purpose of eating is to bring mochin into the nook, specifically into her. B'zeh tevis achila b'gematria samach vov. So we see the 66. That we understand that the word, this word for of achila comes to the gematria of 66, shuhu mispar shem adni, which comes to the count of adni, ima koilo, together with the koilo she'olu b'cheshben samach vav, b'shem adni hu shem hamalchus hanuk. So we understand this, all this eating and drinking and so on and so forth is going to the nook, who is also known as Adni. So there's also a reference here that the name Yud Kei V'Chachma Bina Hanimshach B'Rachila Nimshach L'Nuch Hanikras Adni. So that's the idea. The idea is this is going down to the Nook, who is called Adni. Now we're actually going to come here, and he's going to tell us who is Esther. Nagam Esther. Esther, right? So Esther's not so simple. He says, because it's lashon of sudden something hidden. He be gematria tarsa. So it comes in the gematria of 661. V'hine shem adni b'miluo hu 671. 671. Let me see if I still got myself on the page. Okay. V'hine shem Esther chasra yud. So let's say the word Adni, if you spell it out the longest way, and he's going to give us the spelling over here, it really comes out to be 10 letters longer than the name Esther. So he said, and inside of where? Inside of Esther is hidden what is called the inner dot. Hanikras Yud Shal Adni, which is called by the name Yud. It is that Yud is the final letter of the name Adni. Hanikras Esther, and that Yud is the part that's called Esther al Shem. Why? Shemistateres, because she hides herself. Now we have to read this over here, this tiv. Try to understand what he just said. Now, I saw that Esther, I'm looking for Esther, right? You're looking for Esther. This is the reason why you can't find her so easily, because she's at the tail end of a name. Let me see if we can understand it. Esther, Romezes al Malchus. It's really talking about Malchus. So he said, V'hine Shem Adni, that name, Huba Malchus, really is a name, another substitute name for Malchus. Ubemiluo kazeh, and then if you spell it out, Aleph Lamed Fei, Dalet Lamed Tav, Nun Vav, Nun Yud Vav, Dalet Uba Gematria Tiruah, which is the Aramaic word, incidentally, for shar, for gay. So at any rate, it comes out to the number of 671. Now take the name Esther herself, Shiba Gematria Tarsa. So she comes in a gematria of 661. Chosra Yud, so she's missing 10, to show you that there's something missing over there, the Hashlim, the minion, Adni, Bimulua, in order to make her into a complete Adni, with all of the letters that it could possibly be, which is a gematria 671 or 661. Which was which? I'm getting mixed up. He says Adni Bimulua 671. Okay. V'zechad aromas the bechinas and the kuda rabanimi shalamalchus. So this a phrase that you have to really kind of appreciate. This whole language is really for talking about the inner dot of Malchus. Shechayud shal Esther, he penimius al Malchus shemistanteres, because the yud that comes in the yud that's missing in Esther is actually inside of Esther, which is the Malchus, and it's something hidden inside of her, which is this letter yud. V'lechei nixras Esther. So that's the reason why she's called Esther. Al Shem HaHester, because of the hiding. Now this Os Yud, Zu, Shiha Nakuda Penimis, it's called, because a lot of times the Kabbalists say that the letter Yud is really a dot. Okay, but it's a gematria of 10. So he says, Shihi HaNakuda HaPenimis HaMistateres, it hides. Vihi HaOs Yud Shel Shem Adni, so it's the final Yud of the name Adni, like we have right here. And it's explaining that the Os Yud of the name Adni, Hiba Nuk. That is found in the Nukva. Even though that we say, Sheka'ez that now. We're talking about the Milui, not just the 4 letters. Hanakuda Benimis, who sewed Os Yud, but he says that the Nakuda, the inside dot, I guess, which is the source of the power of the nukva, is still there, kashahu b'pashut, when it's in a pashut. So, using the gematrias, he uses the gematrias, it's a little confusing at the end here, because the gematrias he's using is when you use a milui of the name Adni, but the yud itself is not part of well, it is, I guess, the last letter of the milui, but the yud itself is part of the pashut, just aleph, daled, nun, yud. Anyway, that's Baruch here. And this is the 15th shir in the Ariya Kodesh for Purim. And now we know who Esther is. But I really don't understand the power of this yud yet.